Today is January 21st. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic, and it is a thrill to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. As I always try to say, I am not a speaker on behalf of AA or any other sect or denomination or anything like that. I'm not a professional narrator, as I'm sure you've already been able to tell, but I am a grateful alcoholic that loves these two books and just wants to journey through those. So I'm so thrilled you're here with me today, and we are going to be jumping into Chapter 6 today. That's entitled Into Action. We're going to be reading pages 72 through 76. We're also going to be reading Step 4 in the 12 and 12, pages 44 through 46. Let's go ahead and jump into the big book. We're starting on page 72. Chapter 6, Into Action. Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We've been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. We have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now these are about to be cast out. This requires action on our part, which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the fifth step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we've done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. There's doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it was necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. Trying to avoid this humbling experience, they've turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. We think the reason is they never completed their house cleaning. They took their inventory all right, but they hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought that they had lost their egotism and fear. They only thought that they had humbled themselves. But they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense that we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story. More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents a stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he's revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think that someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside of himself. He hopes that they will never see the light of day. He's under constant fear and tension. That makes for more drinking. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance for recovery. We must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world. Rightly or naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course, will want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty is to receive it. Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with somebody ordained by an established religion. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics. If we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintance for a close-mouthed, understanding friend. Perhaps our doctor or psychiatrist will be the person. It may be one of our own family. But we cannot disclose anything to our wives or our parents which would hurt them or make them unhappy. We have no right to save our own skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we will tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is that we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one is so situated that there is no suitable person available. If that is so, this step may be postponed only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. It's important that he's able to keep a confidence, that he fully understand and approve what we are driving at, and that he will not try to change our plan. But we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have written an inventory, and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we are about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we are engaged upon a life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They'll be honored by our confidence. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we've taken this step, withholding nothing, we're delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skipped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then can look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can He now take them all? Every one? If we still cling to something that we will not let go, we ask God to help us to be willing. Alright guys, so we're jumping into step 4 of the 12 and 12 today on page 44. We were talking about how our instincts that have gone to the extremes can cause some serious problems. So let's jump into the book. But that is not all of the danger. Every time a person imposes his instincts unreasonably upon others, unhappiness follows. If the pursuit of wealth tramples upon people who happen to be in the way, then anger, jealousy, and revenge are likely to be aroused. If sex runs riot, there's a similar uproar. Demands made upon other people for too much attention, protection, and love can only invite domination or revulsion in the protectors themselves. Two emotions quite as unhealthy as the demands which evoke them. When an individual's desire for prestige becomes uncontrollable, when in the sewing circle or at the international conference table, other people suffer and often revolt. This collision of instincts can produce anything from a cold snub to a blazing revolution. In these ways, we are set in conflict not only with ourselves, but with the other people who have instincts too. Alcoholics especially should be able to see that instinct to run wild in themselves is the underlying cause of their destructive drinking. We have drunk to drown feelings of fear, frustration, and depression. We have drunk to escape the guilt of passions, and then have drunk again to make more passions possible. We have drunk for vainglory, that we might the more enjoy foolish dreams of pomp and power. This perverse soul sickness is not pleasant to look upon. Instincts on rampage balk at investigation. The minute we make a serious attempt to probe them, we're liable to suffer severe reactions. If temporarily we are to be on the depressive side, we are apt to be swamped with guilt and self-loathing. We wallow in this messy bog, often getting a misshapen and painful pleasure out of it. As we morbidly pursue this melancholy activity, we may sink into such a point of despair that nothing but oblivion looks possible as a solution. Here, of course, we have lost all perspective, and therefore all genuine humility. For this is pride in reverse. This is not a moral inventory at all. It is the very process by which the depressive has so often been led to the bottle and extinction. If, however, our natural disposition is inclined to self-righteousness or grandiosity, our reaction will be just the opposite. We'll be offended at AA's suggested inventory. No doubt we shall point with pride to the good lives that we thought we had led before the bottle cut us down. We shall claim that our serious character defect, if we think we even have one at all, has been caused chiefly by the excessive drinking. This being so, we think it logically follows that sobriety, first, last, and all the time, is the only thing we need to work for. We believe that our one-time good characters will be revived the moment we quit alcohol. If we were pretty nice people all along, except for our drinking, what need is there for a moral inventory now that we are sober? We also clutch at another wonderful excuse for avoiding an inventory. Our present anxieties and troubles, we cry, are caused by the behavior of other people. People who really need a moral inventory. We firmly believe that if they just treat us better, we'd be all right. Therefore, we think that our indignation is justified and reasonable. That our resentments are the right kind. We aren't the guilty ones. They are. All right, guys. So while I have the 12 and 12 here, oh my goodness, I can totally relate to page 45. Let's see. We're apt to be swamped with guilt and self-loathing. We wallow in this messy bog, often getting a misshapen and painful pleasure out of it. Right here. As we morbidly pursue this melancholy activity, we may sink to such a point of despair that nothing but oblivion looks possible as a solution. Here, of course, we've lost all perspective, and therefore genuine humility. For this is pride in reverse. I had a friend point that out to me. When I was first working the steps, I had so much self-loathing and self-hatred that I was working through. And he pointed out to me, look, if you're thinking about yourself only, if you're saying you're not good enough and all these things, you're actually still being self-centered. It's in a negative sense, but you're still being self-centered. And you're of no use to anybody else because you're only thinking of yourself. It is pride in reverse. And you think that you're so bad that you're unworthy of being forgiven. And then he asked me, are you greater than God? And of course, the cat got my tongue. I didn't know what to say, but he was right. At least in my life, he was absolutely right. If the God of my understanding has forgiven me, who am I not to forgive myself? That was powerful. So when I read this paragraph, I immediately thought of that. And then going back to the big book, my goodness, there's a lot of great stuff in there as well, talking about the fifth step. Speaking of guilt, shame, and remorse and everything, when I did my very first fifth step, it terrified me. I was so afraid. I'd held on a lot of these secrets, the root causes of why I drank, and also the embarrassing things I did while I was drinking that I didn't want to tell anybody about. I had to find the right person. And thank God I was able to find the right person. So on my way over there, I'm trembling and everything in the car, driving over, going, what's he going to think of me? He's never going to look at me the same. But I thought to myself, there's a part in the book where it says, half measures availed us nothing. I can't give him half-truths here. If I really want to be sober, I got to tell him everything. I've already admitted to God. God already knows. But I got to tell him everything too. So finally, I muster up the courage to tell this person I confided in everything that I could think of at the time. And he didn't bat an eye. He thanked me for trusting him. He pointed out my part in a lot of the situations. He gave me some advice. He told me his story. We hugged each other. We prayed together. And it was over. And by the time I drove home, this is where I actually felt completely different. The weight on my shoulders was so much lighter. And I felt free. And to read these promises, I guess you could say, on page 75, It is incredible. As I was reading it out loud, I felt this. So I love this line right here on 75. Once we've taken this step, withholding nothing or delighted, we can look the world in the eye. Somebody once told me I'm as sick as my secrets, and when I finally got that all out there, I realized, you know what? I'm not a horrible person. I made some horrible choices, but I have today, and I can do something about that. I can look the world in the eye. I can be alone at perfect ease and peace. My fear started falling away. I began to feel the nearness of the God of my understanding. I just love this. It says, we may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. That feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. It sounds like a bunch of fluff, but I can say from personal experience that it was true for me. And I hope that it'll be true for you as well. Thank you so much for listening today. Thank you for joining me here on this journey of recovery. It's an honor. I hope you all have a great day, and we will see you back here tomorrow.